an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
So, a lot has changed in the world of smartphones since that day the original iPhone was first announced. Smartphones today are bigger, they're stronger, and of course, they're a heck of a lot faster. I mean, just take a look at the spec sheet. Comparing the original iPhone to the iPhone 12, it's night and day. The iPhone 12's CPU has 6 times the amount of cores at over 7 times the clock speed. It has a whopping 32 times more RAM. It has 16 times the amount of base storage and over 19 times more pixels, which obviously translates into so much more than just speed, but at least for this video, we wanted to see just how much faster today's iPhone is compared to the original. So let's find out. This episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. So by now, you've probably heard of Raid Shadow Legends. The game is super popular and has been played worldwide for over 12.5 billion hours. Just a crazy stat, and it's kinda easy to see why. There's a great storyline that's fully voiceovered, giant boss fights, and hundreds of champions that you can collect and customize. If you want to get a huge head start for yourself in Raid, all you have to do is hit that link down below in the description or scan the QR code right here, with new players getting an epic hero in Shinaru along with 200k in silver. Alright, before we begin, let's just take a moment to appreciate how much things have changed in the last 14 years. I mean, this is compared to the regular iPhone 12, not even the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and the difference is huge, with the original iPhone looking tiny in comparison. So it's crazy to think that just 14 years ago, this same screen was described as being giant. Anyways, we'll kick things off by starting the stopwatches on each phone and then jumping into the camera, where the iPhone 12 is able to snap that photo pretty much instantly, while the original iPhone takes a bit, not just being slower, but also way less fluid. I mean, the iPhone 12 just looks buttery here, whereas on the original iPhone, you can definitely notice the jitter. So much so that we actually had to program in delays with our robot just so the original iPhone would be ready for the next screen tap, otherwise it just wouldn't respond. So as the iPhone 12 just sailed through that browser task, the original iPhone is only just beginning, where each phone is tasked with loading up google.com through a bookmark, going to image search, and then typing in the search term dog and then hitting go, where even that very lightweight task takes the original iPhone 2 times longer to complete, allowing the iPhone 12 to complete the entire first lap in just 40 seconds, with it well on its way to finishing the second lap. Meanwhile, the original iPhone is loading up the contact address in Google Maps, which surprisingly still works, as does the App Store. Although one thing to note about the App Store is that while it technically works and loads up today's apps, unfortunately you're not able to actually install anything since they're all listed as incompatible. But either way, it just takes forever for the App Store to load. The iPhone 12 has already been done with the entire test, completing it in just 1 minute flat, while we're still waiting for these final app icons to load up on the original. But there you go, we'll move on to the Settings app now, which again, just little delays between each step, with even the stopwatch taking a second to load back up, allowing the original iPhone to complete just the first lap in 1 minute and 26 seconds. Now, with only 128 megabytes of RAM, that's 32 times less than the 4 gigabytes or 4,096 megabytes of RAM on the iPhone 12, Apple had to be really selective with which apps the original iPhone kept even just suspended in memory. In fact, this original iPhone didn't even support multitasking, which was a feature that Apple first added in iOS 4, which never actually made its way to this original iPhone since there just wasn't enough RAM on this thing. And you could feel it with us having to return even the Contacts app back to that last app state. But surprisingly, the Google image search in Safari was still ready, as was the Note in the Notes app. So it wasn't all bad news, but for the rest of the apps, it's the same story, with us having to redo our work from the first lap, returning the original iPhone back to the app state that we left it in earlier, causing the original iPhone to finish the second lap and the entire test in a painfully slow 2 minutes and 29 seconds. I can only imagine how much bigger the difference would be if we were actually able to use the more intensive apps that we do in our speed test today, like video exporting, but there you go. It's amazing to see how far we've come in the world of smartphones, not just in terms of speed, but across the board, which of course mostly stems from this original iPhone right here.